Yeah, let's check if they're on. I don't want to be the only one speaking. And that's not the point of the panel. So, yeah, bear with us for a second. Does it work now?
Yep.
Grzegorz?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Before I introduce my panelists, that Anna has actually already done it, I would like to ask you a question. How many of you are startup founders, co-founders, or are working in a startup? Okay, I can't see anything because of that light. Okay, and do you deal with, I mean, at any capacity with AI, VR, robotics, anything like that? Okay, so we have a DeepTech family here. Great to know. Okay, today we are going to discuss, oh, maybe one more question. Is it hard? Come on, raise your hand. Is it hard? Okay, so there might be some challenges that you are facing. Maybe they will be the similar ones that we are going to discuss. And I am joined by amazing experts today. First, it's Diana from Adapta Robotics. She's the co-founder, so she will share the first-hand experience. Hi, nice to have you here.
Nice to be here, thank you.
And now Marcin Pauli from DAC Digital. It's a company that deals with startups' problems from the technical standpoint and helps them to make their idea market ready. And then we have Grzegorz Ambroziewicz from EIC in European Commission. Hello. Nice to have you here. Maybe before we get straight into the topic, I will let each of you make a short intro and give our audience some background on how did you end up in DeepTech. Let's start with Diana.
So Adapta Robotics is creating robot solutions that address markets that are not yet automated. We started from the belief that humans nowadays are not working at their full potential and are still doing a lot of useless activities. One of our products is MAT, which you can also see in the expo area, and it tackles the problem of device testing. So we make sure that the devices, any device with touchscreen or buttons, are thoroughly tested, and that humans don't have to put in that tedious activity of doing it manually.
And how did you end up there?
So we started, we are 3 founders. We started in university as going to robotics competitions. So this was always at our core. And we went into the industry because we looked for challenges, things to do with our experience that could benefit a larger pool of people. And this is what we discovered and we focused on.
Okay, great. Marcin, how about you?
Yeah, I would say that in DAC Digital we actually combine scientific advance and business approach, somehow to turn the ideas into, I would say, product-ready or market-ready products, or even ready to be tested on the market products. And what's important in the company, one of our, I would say, roots that's connected with our DNA, it's DeepTech as well as R&D projects. We've been over there for, I would say, 7 years. So that's quite natural for us to combine AI, ML, robotics, as well as computer vision and a lot of things connected, for example, with pattern recognition in the commercial project. We actually work with different clients. Startups are actually one of key areas for us, so that's a big part of the business for us. So yeah, I would say that's a summary of the company.
Okay, and where did your interest for DeepTech comes from?
Yeah, I was always looking for an innovation, and I was pretty sure that we have to optimize to move on, and we have to figure out what can be automated, how to gather the data, what is the proper source of data. It can be vision, it can be audio, it can be sensors, and so on. So yeah, that's That's a big hype over there on the deep tech right now. So yeah, I'm really enthusiastic about the future. There are obviously some worries with AI, especially in the ethics area. But yeah, let's keep the fingers crossed that we will all make the proper decisions with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Grzegorz, how about you? Could you make a short introduction on what do you do at EIC?
Thank you, Monica. I'd like to thank for organizing this event. I think it's a unique opportunity for deep tech startups to meet at the same place, to meet investors. And I think it's a big applause to you. Thank you so much to Wolf Summit, especially organizing such an event in Central and Eastern Europe. It's really, really plausible. We're going to speak about challenges, but that's why I emphasize so much the importance of all of you, all of us being here. European Commission that's what you were speaking about. Companies who came over to us, deep tech startups, saying we have huge issues. We listen to member states, we listen to the innovation ecosystem, to all the actors, and that's why we're here. We have created a new chapter in the funding of the European Commission. It's called European Innovation Council, and this is precisely a program and a fund to respond to the issues, problems, challenges, risks that exist in the innovation, deep tech, in the breakthrough innovation ecosystem. So that's why we are here, and we are here to facilitate, to support your future and getting to the market.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned one keyword that is quite interesting for me, the risk. And I believe that deep tech startups, they have a slightly different risk profile than, let's say, the software startups. Could you maybe give us your take on that, and what's your experience and what are your observations here?
We have started more than 2 years ago with support to deep tech companies. We believe that deep tech companies are the ones that would create breakthrough innovation, the ones that can create new innovative markets. That's where our economy needs to go. This is the only way to move on, not only out of today's recession, but in a global economic situation. I'd like to come back here to our famous economist, Joseph Schumpeter, who was talking about creative destruction. I believe that following this famous economist, that's what we are doing here. We are creating new market. We are destroying the old product services not en vogue anymore. And we are going ahead, creating new services, new technologies based on deep tech technology. And this is our lesson. That's what we learned from the market, and that's what we strongly believe in. This is substantial. The future is our economy of the European Union should be based on the innovative breakthrough deep tech companies in order to move on, in order to have the cutting edge in the global competition.
Okay, that's really powerful, I would say, and I believe it's feedback for those of you from the deep tech areas that you should keep going in order to maintain the economy and actually, accelerate it. So maybe let's get back to the risk parts. Diana, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, what are the risks for a deep tech startup?
Well, first of all, the risks are pretty much the obvious one. In the robotic side, at least, in order to deliver a robot to a customer, we need to make sure that we have the proper stocks to do that. We need to make sure that no market changes, such we have seen during the pandemic, when there was this idea of chips not being available and so on, and we need to mitigate all these stock risks. There is also investments that need to be done in order to have the stocks and be able to produce. So we are talking more about what differentiates software traditional from hardware-based companies. And besides all of these, we also need to make sure that we put together all of these components. We need to make sure that we can adapt to any changes that are reaching us, because even though there are some changes in the market, we need to still deliver in time, and we need to adapt if we cannot find the certain components or if one of our providers or suppliers is not able to further source something.
Mm-hmm. And I saw, Marcin, you were nodding your head, so is there anything you would like to add here in this part?
Yeah, I would say that my opinion resonates with what Diana has just shared with us, because meeting the market expectations is quite crucial right now, especially once there are some stakeholders pushing, and there is a pressure to deliver, and you have to experiment a bit. I can recognize that a bunch of the DeepTech projects are rather R&D projects. You have to make the assumptions, validate them, and after the first phase, it can turn out that the validation shows you slightly different direction, yeah, and you have to replan everything, but the deadline is still over there, yeah. So yeah, that's the main risk I can recognize, but yeah, there's a lot of fun in that, I would say, yeah. To experiment, to look for the path to deliver, to experiment. That's also one of the aspects I mentioned at the beginning, that to deliver ready to be tested on the market product, not market ready product, but we have to be courage to test, to deliver and validate. Yeah, especially there is also an aspect of proper talents and the cost of hiring. Yeah, and the access to scientific knowledge as well as labs and R&D. Yeah, that's not the same story as if it comes to the custom software development, for example. Yeah, so that's my opinion about that, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it will be easily solved. Yeah.
Grzegorz, maybe you have something to add here in terms of what Marcin said.
I'm quite surprised that I didn't hear anything about financing, because that's what we, as European Commission, the European Innovation Council, understood from the market, that financing of deep tech, early stage companies is the biggest issue. The issue is here that private sector is not ready to take the risk, is not ready to invest in a company at R&D level where the technology is super innovative technologies at early stage, and still trials, clinical trials, the time in the lab is quite considerable. And that's what we understood is a big issue. Financing, private sector, especially private sector financing, banking sector in Europe is risk adverse in Europe. And also the amount of venture capital in Europe is much lower than elsewhere. According to quite recent statistics, the VC is 5 times higher in the US, usually in Silicon Valley, than in Europe. And that's why we step in here as European Innovation Council with our 10 billion euros as the biggest public fund to precisely to come to breakthrough deep tech, breakthrough innovation, deep tech companies to help, to de-risk, to prepare for next stage, to help at the R&D level, to help you develop your business case, how to get to the market, to ensure that you're protected by your patents and licenses, and then go to the market. And for us, the critical moment is get to the markets. This is for us objective of each and every project that we support with grant and equity. And this is what's our job, is to de-risk. We're talking about the risks, so we are here to de-risk the company, to prepare for the next financing round.
Yeah, thank you. I asked some investors before this panel what's exciting about DeepTech, and they said nothing. And they said it's actually risky, and there's a much higher capital expenditure beforehand. And so with the software companies, for example, as opposed to the hardware ones, you have a perspective for quicker returns. Have you ever encountered like an argument like that when you were fundraising?
All the time.
All the time.
So yeah, this is definitely a consequence of the risks that we are facing in all of our areas of activity, and there is this nowadays in terms of investments. There is this abstraction layer that I think has been put into place, and also a sort of recipe. So VCs or private equities are mostly used to investing into software companies because the recipe is quite simple. You put some money in and you get an X times X return on investment. In pretty short amount of time, of course it depends on the specifics, but with deep tech and robotics this can be significantly different, especially because we need to invest into R&D, we need to invest into stocks and so on. So yeah, this is something we pretty much face all the time.
And maybe any other of the things that Marcin and Grzegorz said, was there anything that when they were talking about you thought, yeah, that was my problem actually? How about like the R&D or maybe the talent acquisition? Has it ever been an issue for Adapta Robotics?
It is something that we face every day. And we do face everything that has been said here. I'd add on the list that another issue that we need to keep into mind is regarding the patents, the technology that we create through the R&D processes. It's good for it to go through a patent process, and this is something that, from our experience, it takes a lot of time. And more often than not, in order to have a wider application of the patent, it is also costly. So not only do we have to invest time and take risks with components, testing them, putting them together, finding the right people, but also making sure that we are not getting eaten by bigger companies or companies that get to the investment part faster and take on our ideas and our products.
Okay, so anything else to add here in terms of like the patenting part? Marcin, do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, and I would even say that it resonates with the things Greg mentioned about, because I can still see the gap between, I would say, early stage dedicated deep tech investors and the generalist funds. And that's the risk you actually mentioned about, that they do not tend to invest in deep tech, because you can invest a lot of money and at the end of the day it can turn out that it was no success. There is a scientific advance at the end, but there's no commercial part. You cannot monetize it. There is no ROI, and that's the risk. However, if we are thinking about patenting, that's, I can see, one of the factors which can accelerate the future growth of the deep tech area. And yeah, I have seen it recently. We've been working with some clients globally, and we decided to move on with patenting together. So that's the pure partnership for me, and I can see that that's a big advantage on the market right now to move on with that scenario.
And that's the interesting thing that you mentioned about having the scientific or engineering solution, but not having it market ready and no returns. And I've heard an interesting quote, but I can't really recall the name of the investor, but they said that what they want to see is another, like the next Max Planck or Marie Curie Skłodowska, but taking their solution outside of the lab and putting it into commercial use. And I felt like really that's the gist of it. That's like basically the essence of DeepTech, I would say. Do you agree, Grzegorz?
It's true. This is a fully justified, because investment, that there should be a yield on investment, otherwise the business doesn't make sense. I think, again, I'll speak about the EIC, because EIC is here not following the private market rules. We are here to help companies to spread their wings at all stages and make sure that we are there all the time. We are very, if we look at private sector, how they invest, we invest in companies for much longer time. We are the so-called patient investor. We can be with a company until it's ready. And here, looking at my colleagues here, R&D can take an enormous amount of time. Clinical trials can take 5–10 years, and usually with negative results, or as Marcin said, go another direction. So our fund is a public fund. It's EU taxpayers' money. We are here to take the risk to create new market, and by being a patient investor, by letting the company grow at its own pace and being able to do it, of course being monitored, that's our mantra. And this is something that companies love us for. With our business acceleration services, once companies manage to get through all the most difficult tests from lab all the way to the market, we are there to get them together with the biggest market players like BMW, ABB, Airbus, and all the greatest market players. So I think we are quite unconventional here and replying to the challenges of deep tech companies.
Okay, so to summarize that part, the solution to the challenge is to find the patient investors, yeah, the institutions that actually would like to put the effort and think in the longer run. Is that correct? And is there any, I don't know, word of advice that you would give maybe to the private investors or to the private sector to convince them that it's actually worth it?
My advice, I'll be very short here, is to try to knock on all the possible doors and ask for support. And I know the most important one is cash, but here incubation, acceleration services could be very, very useful. Sometimes small companies are not fully aware of all the challenges that might still come up. So it's good to speak to their older colleagues if they want to share. But I think it's best to go to specialized incubators and accelerators, and of course us, if you manage to get funding from us, where we'll be helping you with coaches and mentors to get to the market.
Okay, so also like the advice of those who know better and who have already,
if they want to share.
Yeah, if they want to share. Marcin, do you have anything to add here about maybe consulting the people? Maybe now not to the investors themselves, but to the startups about, I don't know, like consulting someone who already has more experience or who already has made the mistakes before?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say that it's always good to be courageous a bit. Yeah, I do understand that from the business perspective, there is a risk of losing money. But on the other hand, I can recognize that each and every individual project can be divided into phases and milestones, so you can just take it under control and figure out what is possible, what has to be recalibrated or even changed. And there are no failures. There are always lessons learned. So that's I would like to share.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Diana, anything to add here? Maybe from your own experience? Maybe you had some kind of situations when you and your team thought that, you know, the project is not going to move forward, and how did you manage to overcome it? Probably that you have them every day, yeah, but maybe something like the most notable ones.
I'd say here that there is a balance that needs to be done regarding what the market or what the feedback from the market and even investors is, and what the belief for the product or the perspectives for the products are. So the vision versus the market validation, let's say. And yeah, we have faced this during the development of our products, and the solution.
Queued up? Can I see the?
Shh, we're still talking here.
The solution for this is to put in balance. So what are the advantages, what is the vision versus what the feedback is? And look and see, does the feedback or does this information help us to create a better product, a more suited product for this market or not? And if the answer is yes, through an exercise of imagination and projection, then those, let's say, actions should be taken further. If not, they should be tweaked, because usually there is no, let's say, false or incorrect idea, but incomplete ones. And from a bunch of incomplete ideas, we can make a clear vision for our company, for the future of it, and of the products, of course.
Okay, have you taken notes? I hope so. Okay, we will slowly need to start wrapping up, as I see they are already installing the microphones. No, we said we still have time. Okay, great. That's amazing. But still, it's the three of you. So if you were to maybe summarize in a few sentences on why is like this industry worth the attention and the investment and the work, although the challenges. Maybe let's start with Grzegorz.
It's a very macro question, totally, but that's what our vision should be, where we are, what we want to achieve, and our objective is to support DeepTech, breakthrough innovation companies with 10 billion euros, and there are lots of hurdles. And you will have many, many hurdles before you reach the market, before you start generating millions and billions. But it's worth going there. I think it's, you know, I don't have my phone on me, but it's, you know, there are some deep tech ideas that changed our lives, and these are
Absolutely.
Our current phones.
Every day and everywhere,
Exactly.
actually.
And I remember when I was a child, we didn't even think of such a device. So this is a big game changer. What you are creating can be a game changer, and you should believe in this and persevere. From my perspective, we've been investing in companies for nearly now 5 years. We have a portfolio of nearly 6,000 companies that we have invested in. And as you can imagine, not everybody managed. There were many failures, just because what my colleagues were saying. There are all the hurdles, and this hurdle stopped them, and they couldn't get to the market. However, there are very successful ones that managed to get through, and today we have 12 deep tech or breakthrough innovation, not all of them are deep tech, but breakthrough innovation companies that managed to get to valuation of 1 billion euros. And there are 12 of them out of 5,000. So we call them unicorns, as you know. And we have also over 120 centaurs with 100 million euros of valuation. So there is, when talking about big numbers, deep tech companies can make it happen, can spread the wings and get to reach the peaks and change the market, get your solution, get your product to the market and sell it. It can be successful, and the proof is here that we managed to help companies, 12 companies, to get all the way to the dreams of many of you.
And I think one of the other factors that you slightly mentioned is that the impact of the deep tech companies, and that these solutions are really changing our lives. And it's not just, you know, for the entertainment and stuff. Not that I'm saying that entertainment is not important, but, you know, we have like medtech solutions with like AI, computer vision, etc., like literally revolutionizing our lives. Sorry, I forgot to pour myself water. Martin, maybe you have something to add here, both about the impact and why is it worth, you know, focusing attention on deep tech right now.
Actually, you have just stolen a bunch of my thoughts, yeah. So, but for me, it's not only about cutting-edge solutions, which is going to support companies, different industries, yet another factory to help to, for example, detect the access to the restricted area and so on. It's all about, I think, life-changing solutions, what Greg already mentioned. Once I'm having a chat with customers or startups or different entities, let me call it that way, about cancer markers and having an opportunity to test it, to test yourself on your own at home. You are not obliged to go to the hospital, but you can do it easily within 5 minutes, day by day. And it affects your medicine, your quality of life, your health. That's the future of deep tech. That's the value I do really love in that area.
Thank you. And Diana, any final thoughts?
Well, I'd summarize by saying that the companies that we are discussing about and the deep tech has the potential to shape and change markets, processes, industries. And we, of course, there are many challenges, as we discussed, that we face doing this. But in order to bring the progress further and to make sure that we live up to our potential, our human potential, we need to go on with doing this and to face all these challenges in order to strive to be successful.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't have imagined a better summary of this discussion. I think now we're actually running out of time, so I would like to ask you for a generous round of applause for our panelists. And of course, they will be here today at the venue, so if you have any questions or you would like to continue the discussion or ask about something additional, feel free to reach out to them, at the area. And now I think that maybe I'll just introduce myself because I forgot about it as usual. I'm Monika. I'm also interested in deep tech and currently working with a deep tech company as well. But today I'm the organizer of Wolf Summit. So again, if you have any question about the event, feel free to say hi and reach out. Thank you very much. And I think it's time for the next person, for the next keynote.